Hello and welcome to the Faces podcast. This is Melissa. I'm a staff member at Faces. I'm joined by Nigel, who's our other staff member. And today we're going to talk about our upcoming conference. It's been a long time since we've had a conference. It would be pre-pandemic that we had our last one. But we're really excited to be hosting one at Hope Church, Luton next month. And we're 3 weeks away. And we're going to be talking about safeguarding together. So how can we collectively as organisations and different types of practitioners as well with families and parents, how can we make sure that we're keeping young people safe and that we're on top of any issues that they might be facing? So Nigel, let me ask you, this will be the first Faces conference that you're putting together with us. What are you most excited about and what are you most looking forward to with the conference?
Thanks, Melissa. I think for me, it's what you've just said, in a way. The fact that you've got teachers, parents, and organizations coming together about safety of young people, I think that is a good combination. So often you get something that just happens for teachers or just happens for parents or just happens for organizations. Something of Faces in its collaboration between faiths and stepping into that territory enables a conversation that is very different to some of the conversations that are happening. And the only way to combat some of these things, just like they say, it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a whole load of concerted effort by many people to challenge the issues around safeguarding and to bring protection for young people. You need the parents alert and alive to it. You need teachers in the same place. You need organizations or activities after school and things like that where everyone's got eyes on it and working towards it. And then there's also the education of children themselves. So I think for me, also, the RSE element is massive. And I think it's been very difficult for parents. Some of them feel that the government thrust this upon them. At the same time, there's very changing cultures in society. Young people are learning about things in very quick ways off the internet. And as a result, who's steering this? It's just a massive drift. And in some ways, if we look at it that way, there's a need for good teaching. There's a need for faith to be taken on board with that, our research and things like that, all playing out into this conference. And then there's the refugees as well. I think there's so many things, but what's your favorite?
Yeah, I think you've summed it up really well. And I'm really looking forward to the discussions that we're going to host. We want to make sure there's a big time for all the people that are attending to talk to each other, learn from each other. And often we speak about that in terms of best practice, between practitioners, between staff members who already know each other. We always, in our training, try to create that space. But this time we really want to draw in the families and make sure that everyone's voice is being heard in that, because like you said, it needs to be coming from all angles. We need to work together to figure things out. And we'll also be sharing some training tasters. So we'll have, as you mentioned, our new faith-sensitive relationships and sex education course, which is aimed at school staff and leaders. And that draws very heavily on our research that we did into young people's experiences of RSE, relationships and sex education, and also helps to unpack the statutory guidance. So we know that although we're often given these documents that say, this is how you do it, this is how you must do it or can do it, sometimes to apply that and sometimes to really embed that in our plans isn't as easy. So we created an activity for us to explore that collectively and ask, what do we really think about this, and how what does that mean in practice to follow that guidance? We'll also have a taster of our identity and inclusion training, which will be looking at how we understand what prejudice is, how we understand different people's experiences of it, and how we can view that through a kind of understanding of social norms and standards and what that means. The third taster will be our teen program, which is our course that's directed to young people of secondary school age. And we won't be trying to deliver that to the adults in the room, but we'll be kind of just laying out exactly what we do in that course. It's a 3-part program that we offer. And also, and I think more importantly, looking at the guidance that we give to facilitators of the course. So making sure that, you can create an activity and you can facilitate a discussion with young people. But what's really important is, that side of things could be really simple, but what's really important is how we facilitate that, how we manage those conversations, or rather how we make sure that young people feel confident and comfortable to share their ideas. But we know that we can challenge and kind of direct and encourage their decision making within that as well. So yeah, I think those are sort of some really good things to look forward to. But we also, of course, have our speakers and our panel members coming. And as you mentioned, it takes a village to raise a child. We're really excited to be having Kimberly Lamb, who's the director of the VERU, the Violence and Exploitation Reduction Unit. And of course, they have the VERU Village, which in a lot of ways does what we're talking about in bringing practitioners and services and all of the different types of support that are available for young people together in one place to be found online. So that's one of our panel members that will be joining us and being able to take questions from the audience and talk about the work that VERU does and how people can kind of access that. Do you want to perhaps introduce one of the panel members?
Yeah, and we've also got Alan Catton joining us, who is the leader and the chair, the independent chair of the Safeguarding Board for Central Bedfordshire and for Luton as well. And their role is looking at safeguarding on the big picture over the area. And I know they're very keen to link with groups and associations and people in that. And so it'd be good to hear from his perspective as well and see with his eyes a little bit of how the land is around us. And so we've got some big hitters coming. And I think also, one of the things that we often you don't look in your own house and think, actually, so-and-so is really good. But actually we've got the amazing Lucy Moore, who will be with us. And she has loads of academic study, work with universities and into those environments. And so to have some of her input into this as well will be absolutely fantastic, alongside some of our other people like Sufyan, who works in the area of education and others. So it's going to be a beautiful smorgasbord of people with lots of different experiences. And so I think it's going to be quite a tight conference with a lot of material in it. And I think it's mentioning smorgasbord, we've also got food, because nothing significant happens without food. And so we're hoping to get together and have some more of those discussions over food at the end of the conference as well.
And of course, Nick Ponsonby, who's the Deputy Head Teacher and Designated Safeguarding Lead at Chorney High School for Girls. She'll be joining us as one of our speakers to really share her experience into a lot of these areas we've spoken about, particularly with RSE and working with families and supporting disadvantaged young people and making sure that our schools and our classrooms, which, we can look at in two separate ways of what the curriculum looks like, what facilitation and teaching looks like, but also just the culture of a school and how that can be and needs to be inclusive of people from all different backgrounds and things. So we're really, really looking forward to welcoming everyone on the 6th of July at Hope Church, Luton.
Yeah, I'm just saying about schools, because we think of schools as where kids get their education or they have to go to school. My kids always like, we have to go to school. It's seen as part of the education or something that kids do for those years. But actually, schools are amazing bases of community as well. You have people from lots of different places all coming together, and the community around a school has a lot of impact. And so I think just hearing from a deputy head like Nick about this is going to be really, really important, because it actually forms a lot more of a base than some of us realize in our day-to-day. How many people operate around the school? You've got caterers, you've got, that it all gets drawn into that setting and touches many different areas. So
if you're a parent, if you're a guardian, if you're a teacher, if you're a social worker, a health visitor, a family worker, this conference is for you. We need you there so that we can have these discussions together, so that we can, really start to move forward with some of the issues that we might be facing day to day when we're working with families, and that we can find out about what other support is available. You know, we're lucky that in Luton we do have a lot of different services that we know often, unfortunately, are at capacity, that people have to wait for certain types of support, or that the support, you know, is not enough for everyone. But the only way to start addressing that is making sure we know what is available, you know, and we know where those resources are, and we know how to access them, and how we can make sure families can access them. So please join us on the 6th of July, and we will leave details within the podcast description to be able to register. But if you go to faces23st.eventbrite.co.uk, that will be the registration link, and you can also find that on our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter as well. Thank you.
See you there.